of moms. I'm joined now by Lauren Enriquez. Lauren, thank you so much for cutting out some time in your busy day, and I know you have to go pick up your kids, so I want to make
Yeah.
sure that I get this in here and get you on your way to doing your most important duty as a mom. You wrote an article, an op-ed that was in the New York Times, and it was called "How the New Feminist Resistance Leaves Out American Women." Tell me how you feel left out by this new feminist resistance.
Yeah. Well, first, thanks for having me on, and great to hear from another mom that's busy and has 3 kids. I'm so happy to talk to you today.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel your pain and your joy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wrote the op-ed because over the last few months, we've kind of seen the abortion conversation intensify. But we're seeing a lot of demonstrations on both sides of the aisle, wanting to make sure that their views are represented. But the abortion advocates are getting heavy media attention, which has kind of been the trend for many years. On the other hand, there's like millions of pro-life women like you and I who are just not being represented by the media. So I wanted to just write something that would reach a wider audience about why pro-life women really do comprise millions and millions of the American women who are not being represented, and why that's just not really just.
Yeah,
So I was really pleased with the New York Times for publishing it.
Yeah, I give them credit for giving you a larger platform to share your voice, which is speaking certainly for me. You spoke for me in this article in exponentially more than what I witnessed in the Women's March and the things that I continue to see come out of that movement. And you cite a Knights of Columbus Marist poll, which is an annual survey on views of abortion, where just over half of all women want to see further restrictions on abortion. So it's not as though we are the fringe here. It's not like we're this small group in the background that is trying to be the squeaky wheel. There are a lot of us.
Absolutely. You know what? The radical fringe position on abortion is really the very, very small minority who want to see abortion on demand through all 9 months of pregnancy for any reason. And that small minority is trying to speak on behalf of the many, many more women who say abortion should either be completely illegal or that it should only be legal with strict restrictions. And so it's been, the feedback I've been getting is very much like what you're saying. Women are writing to me saying, thank you, I finally feel like someone in the mainstream media said what I believe, and I'm so glad that my views got some airtime too.
Absolutely. We're speaking with Lauren Enriquez, who wrote an op-ed for the New York Times called "How the New Feminist Resistance Leaves Out American Women." One of the things you wrote in this article, you were speaking about the Women's March and everybody who showed up at the National Mall of about a month ago, and you said, yet lost in the action, then and since, is any sense of what the movement stands for. Ultimately, it settled for a sense of what the movement is against, not just a caricature of Mr. Trump as a misogynist hellbent on sending women back to the 1950s America, but anything associated with him as well. And I was speaking about this a little bit earlier, but anybody who's in the wake of a Donald Trump gets lumped into this very hateful, I would say maybe basket of deplorables, if you will. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's this understanding that if you aren't them, then you are something else, that you're specifically something else. How does what the women that are out there marching, how does what they say misrepresent you?
Well, you know, what I would like to do is find some common ground where we can come together and have a dialogue about what we actually think as individual human beings who are women with one another, and not just automatically assume that because we are pro-life and Donald Trump is pro-life, therefore we are exactly the same as Donald Trump. A lot of the feedback that we get when we say that we're pro-life is, oh, you must also be like anti-refugee, and you must also share all these views that they don't agree with. Mm-hmm. So it's not really fair to be lumped together. But to be fair, I have seen some good, healthy discussion come from this op-ed. There are people that are reaching out that are saying, you know what, I don't agree with you, I'm pro-abortion, but you did make me think, and let's have a dialogue. I even got a call from a congressman yesterday who said, I don't agree with you, I'm pro-choice, but I think your opinion is valuable. So
Well,
that has been very rewarding.
that is very impressive. Another thing that you said here, which is the thing that I find is the most absent in this pro-life, pro-abortion argument. You said, I want to obliterate the stereotype that the people working to end abortion hate women. And I think that very often in the pro-life argument, we spend so much focus on the baby, and rightfully so. I mean, obviously, it's a baby. We agree on that. But we forget about that woman who's sitting there who needs to make that choice, because truly they do have a legal choice to make. And instead, there's a lot of judgment pushed in that area. You work with the Human Coalition, so you were on ground zero for this. How do you feel like you can help remove that stereotype that pro-life equals a hatred of women?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, that stereotype is completely unfair and out of touch with reality. I have been doing this for many, many years, and I've never met, in my whole life, I've never met a pro-lifer who hated women or who was doing this because they wanted to set women back. So that really is a soundbite that keeps getting recycled but really has nothing to back it up. But to your point that we do have to support women in order to rescue babies, that's absolutely true. What we're doing at Human Coalition is we're working to serve those approximately 1.4 million women every year who are seeking abortion in the United States. They're an underserved and underreached people group because really Planned Parenthood, that is their target demographic. And they're trying to encourage the notion in pregnant women's brains that abortion is really your only option. You really can't do this. You really just need the easy, quick solution. And so what we're doing is reaching out to these women and saying, here, we're going to show you how we can meet with you on an individual basis, create a plan of care for you, and meet the needs that are holding you back from feeling like you can parent or place your child for adoption or whatever the avenue that they're looking to explore is. So we'll meet with them and create a plan to apply for Medicaid together, help them find safe housing, help them with their resume to find jobs, plug them into a local church, set them up with a mentor, whatever that woman needs on an individual basis. And as a byproduct of coming alongside her and empowering her, she will feel like she's capable of choosing life. And so when you focus on the woman will choose life many times for her child. And so it goes hand in hand. Pro-life and pro-woman go hand in hand. That's pretty much what all pro-lifers believe, but there's this very unfair and out-of-touch stigma associated with us as misogynists, and it's just not true.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I would add to that the being pro-life and being pro-women, that goes for men too. And I know a lot of men who will say that they're not for abortion, and you know the ever famous, but I don't feel like I can tell a woman what to do with her body. Mm-hmm. And then if it's somebody who you trust and who trusts you, and you can sit down and have a real conversation about it, you know, they just don't feel like being vocal about it is really worth the amount of vitriol that they could receive upon saying something like that. Because for a man to say that a woman should not be able to have an abortion has been made to the stigma, as you say, is that a man is telling a woman what to do. However, that baby doesn't get there without a contribution from a man. So
absolutely.
There really is an equal buy-in here and an equal responsibility to protect that life. So if you are a man and you have pro-life tendencies and you're hesitant to speak up, please also feel empowered to speak up, because there's no back seat to be taken on this issue.
Absolutely. And you know what? Something we're doing at Human Coalition is actually working to reach men and empower them to feel that they can have a voice on abortion. We have a whole website called abortionexploitswomen.com, and our president has written a book just specifically directed at men, encouraging them to help women, because we know when we see surveys, the reasons why women are choosing abortion, and these are surveys coming from the abortion industry itself. One of the main reasons that a woman chooses abortion is because she feels her partner is either absent or unsupportive. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it's because the man might be supportive but feels that he has no place to say anything, because we've been telling them to sit down and be quiet for so long.
Yep.
And so we're saying, no, speak up. If you feel like you can help father the child and be a man and make some self-sacrifice, don't be afraid to tell the woman, look, we can do this. If that's not anti-woman, that's pro-woman.
Yes, absolutely. And there's nothing that gets a deadbeat dad off the hook faster than an abortion. I mean, for something that is the product and the champion of the feminist movement for abortion, which is obviously their gold standard, they've created a scenario where they let men off the hook for their responsibilities. I mean, that's kind of anti-feminist to me. Well, Lauren Enriquez, thank you so much for your time. Go pick up your kids, love them, hug them, and encourage other people to make that positive choice and choose life. We appreciate your time.